Welcome to the Poundcast. We have another fantastic episode today with Skinner. He
Yes.
is a friend of us, friend of mine. I recently worked with him when we released our drop concert, the motion picture. He was one of the moderators, which is available at dropconcert.com. And you can see his portion that he where he moderated a Q&A, and we have a fantastic conversation with Skinner. And the After Dark is really good too. If you
The
want
After Dark, listen, this is one of those ones where you got to go after dark because things really start to get we have some really funny big laughs in After Dark. I'll even tell you what it's about. The After Dark, we talk about embarrassing fashion faux pas that we were subjected to as kids, or something like that. Anyway, it's really funny. It gets really funny.
Yeah, so if you do want to listen to that and you're not a Patreon, the After Dark episodes is we just keep talking after the main episode, and that is available on Patreon, patreon.com/poundcast. For a low amount of money per month, you can get bonus material, bonus extended Poundcasts. So
Yes.
check that out.
And it's also, you can see the video of the After Dark as well, where you might want to check out the video because there is some visual component to that as well, a little bit.
That's right,
um,
Brent.
so, and speaking of video, all the main episodes are on youtube.com/the poundcast. And so you can see video versions of the show, and then you can see the video versions of the show of the After Dark on the Patreon. Now, it was a great show, but first, I want to mention to you that you can also go to LouisvilleVeganFoods.com to get vegan jerky. This stuff is made hand bagged in the United States of America, and has a shelf life of 9 months. And there's all kinds of different flavors you can check out on that site, LouisvilleVeganFoods.com, and you can order stuff there. And if you use the code word Poundcast, you can get 20% off of your order. That's a lot. Usually discounts are 10%, 15% maybe, but 20%. Wow, what a
Yeah,
deal.
still time to order some of that for Christmas gifts, holiday gifts, stocking stuffers. It's the perfect gift, and they are the perfect sponsor for the Poundcast. And we truly love them with all our heart and soul. More than I love
Yes.
Santa. I love Louisville vegan foods more than Santa. Forget leaving out cookies for Santa. Leave out some
Yeah.
Louisville
So,
vegan jerky.
right. You leave it out for them.
Cookies and milk?
And,
Louisville vegan jerky
and
and
water.
and oat milk.
Oh, oat milk. Okay. Yeah. 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 They also have chocolate on there but, and toppings too, toppings such as,
I've
face
had their
bacon bits.
chocolate. They make chocolate too. I mean, it's
I just said
real.
that.
I know. I'm just saying I tried it.
Oh, you tried
I
it.
ordered some. Yeah, it's really good.
Oh,
Whelpdale
yeah.
Chocolates is on there. LouisvilleVeganFoods.com. Use the code
LouisvilleVeganFoods.com.
Comcast. You know the drill.
You
So
know the drill. Oh, by
do
the
it.
way, also speaking of the Patreon, um, so the Poundcast is having a holiday party on Zoom, a Hollywood holiday party on Zoom on December 10th, and it's a Patreon exclusive. So uh, we're going to be on Zoom with all of Patreon members, and it's going to be recorded as an episode as well, but that will be December 10th, and it is at 6 p.m. Pacific time. So get on Patreon to get in on that.
And we're going to get it on right now. Anything else, Brent?
Yes, sir. I'm
Yes,
sorry,
sir.
but
Okay. Yes, sir.
last thing, a ticket link isn't available yet, but it will be. Hopefully, by the time this episode comes out, it will be. But I'm trying to put on this New Year's Eve show, and it's going to be done on Zoom and that sort of thing. So just follow my stuff to get the link. So probably Twitter, is Brent Weinbach. That's where you probably can find the link when it does come out. Stay tuned for that if you're interested in doing something on New Year's that is a stay-at-home situation.
Now, every week we put a remix of our theme song, but I forgot to look up who.
Ooh, okay. I know that there is a couple here. Let me
Pull
find
one
it
up,
real
Brent.
quick.
Pull one up.
Let me pull it up for you
Forgot to
real
do this.
quick here.
Yeah. So if
Actually,
another benefit of while you're doing that, and I'll just say that another benefit of, or not really a benefit, just a fun thing of our Patreon is that you'll get access to the stems of the Poundcast theme song. And our patrons have been making remixes,
okay, I
lots of
got one here.
remixes.
It's from this one's he's at Dino underscore Mentavelo. So it's DINO underscore MENTAVELO. So Dina Mentavelo. Or yeah. And this is his remix.
All right, let's roll the clip, and we'll see you in a second with Skinner. Roll the clip.
Welcome to the Poundcast. 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 Welcome to the Poundcast.
Welcome to the Poundcast, Skinner, the legendary Skinner.
Yeah, you're like, what's this guy do?
No,
I know,
no,
it's a very
no way.
confusing
Legendary.
thing. Thanks for having me be here on this podcast. Every single time I've met you outside of like in any capacity, I was always like, I feel like you're kind of like a really like socially shy unicorn guy. So I was always, and I'm intense as fuck. So I was like, don't fucking scare this guy away, you know? I don't know if you remember, which I'm 100% sure you don't remember, but I met you at Tim Biskup's party at his house like 8 years ago or something. Maybe 6, 7, I don't know. And you were making.
Is that when he was watching the MMA fight?
I don't remember the MMA fight, but it was kind of like a pool party.
Yeah.
And I was like, I had never really met Tim Biscup before, but I was like, oh, this guy's cool. Like he's kind of like one of those juxtaposed legend type dudes, low underground art stuff. And this was not long after I had discovered that you were like totally integral to the Tim and Eric editing and humor and all this stuff. And I kind of started really getting into like what you were doing and all your music and all this stuff. And I was like, man, this guy's fucking cool. Cause I'm sure you understand, like, as kind of like a nerd, like you get into one thing and then you kind of like excavate all of it. So I was like, oh, this Doug guy, this DJ Doug Pound. And then I met you at the party and they were like, oh, hey, that's Doug. And I was like, that's motherfucking Doug Pound. And I was like, and you were sitting in the kitchen and you were making you were like blending juice and you were like making you were like making a nice drink for yourself. And I was all, hi, Doug. Like just like all shy, and he like looked at me and like, hey, what's up? And I was all big fan, you know. And you're like, oh god. And I have the kind of the reference in my mind of like knowing when somebody comes up to you and it's sort of uncomfortable and you're like, is this the fucking person I'm going to have to avoid for the rest of the day or whatever, you know? And so I was like, all right, don't scare him off. Don't scare this guy off. He's a beautiful unicorn.
No, I welcome all cool people.
You do.
And you know, if I'm over there and I'm making that look, that's because I don't know anybody and I'm just being shy.
Yeah,
and nervous and insecure about my own standing at the party. So the fact that somebody recognized me there I would probably low key be relieved.
Okay, good.
Okay, I'm not like a nobody amongst these art luminaries that I don't know who they are or whatever.
Yeah, and then when I met you at the Feels Good Man thing, I was like ultra wasted by the time I saw it, because you were DJing the after party and I was fully so excited to see you there. And I was like, oh my God. But I was like, all right, don't like bother him too much. Like he's having fun, like make it, you know. And then like at the end, like I was so wasted at the after party. And then I saw that you showed up to that and I was all, don't fucking punish him. You're too drunk. Like, don't, you know? And so I was like, so I feel like I'm doing a good job of like not like, you know, punishing people too much.
Well, I remember you were hitting me up on Twitter, or no, not Twitter, like Instagram or whatever. And I just remember the name Skinner, and I'm like, okay. And then like when I put it together that was you,
yeah,
I was like stoked. I was like, oh, we finally get to meet. And
yeah.
I don't know, it's like you put the pieces together of who like this kind of stranger is you're communicating with online. And then there's like a face and a human to the name, you know? So
yeah, I was like, yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's kind of weird because I know that I do art and all these weird things for a living and stuff, and that I'm a contemporary of people, but I think it's like very rare that I become like a like a fan of somebody and then sort of it's like loving them, but then like not, it's, I don't know. It's really strange because I quit my job in 2008 in the middle of the economic crisis, right? I was working with people with developmental disabilities, and I loved my job, but I was like, I got to try something. I got to do art or something like this. So I just sort of like went for it. But I would oftentimes have these like really crushing moments of depression, like really bad, like really, really crushing. And Christy, my wife, we've been together for 16 years, but she like somebody at her job found a baby rabbit that was like chewing on a Del Taco wrapper behind the dumpster at her job. It was like a tiny rabbit, like a baby. And she was like, oh, skin. Yeah, it was so tiny.
This big?
Yeah. Like brand new baby rabbit. And
like was it like pink?
No, it was like white. It was white already.
It had fur.
It had fur. It was like, but it was like very small. And
rabbits
cute.
Are this big sometimes?
Yeah, dude, they're like this big when they're born or something.
No kidding.
They're like a quarter size, and then they get to be like a baby hamster size, you know. But so she was like, okay, I know Skinner is a very sweet guy. He's really depressed. He'll be happy if he can take care of this rabbit. So she like brought me home this baby rabbit, and then this baby rabbit, like, it kind of became like my responsibility to raise it, sort of like feed it, make sure it was all happy, because I would be at home. Well, while I was at home, I would watch the Tim and Eric DVDs that I'd buy at Best Buy, right? And I would just watch them over and over again, and I was like, this is it, because it's like cynical but humorous, and it's like, this is the kind of humor that you develop if you're smart and kind of sensitive and insightful, but you are alienated by the kind of wretchedness of our American culture in a lot of ways. So I'm like, I was like, wow, these people are really training me to enjoy the apocalyptic beauty pageant of the world and like how ridiculous everything is. But I was like, oh, I'm having fun. This is really like what I want to go into. And then it kind of gave me permission to just make a bunch of music. Like, I've made a bunch of weird music. I started making stupid ass commercials for my website. I was like, what's the dumbest thing ever? Making a commercial for my website. You know, I thought that was fun. So yeah, man, it was really cool. And then I met you. I was like, oh, this guy, he really influenced a lot of my nihilistic views to be more constructive and funny, and like to kind of like enjoy it and make fun of it. And then, like, I don't know, I feel really influenced in like a lot of positive ways from this sort of humor you guys developed. So grateful for that.
Well, thanks, man. I mean, there's nothing like absorbing. If you want to do something creative, it's really good to absorb other people's stuff or just movies,
Yeah, totally.
TV, music. Like if you feel like depressed or in a rut, or in a creative rut, you just put on something. I mean, that's the problem is a lot of times it's not inspiring or it's lame or something. But
I get inspired by corny stuff or lame stuff or whatever.
I mean, yeah, sometimes you can for sure. I just watched this movie last night, Putney Swope. Have you seen that, Brent? Have you guys seen this?
No.
It's very inspiring. It was made by Robert Downey Sr.
Oh.
Jr.'s dad in 1969.
Okay.
Whoa.
And it is like, it's wild, man. It's like, it's hard to explain. It's just a very unique.
Putney Swope.
I've only seen one of his movies before, which was I want to say it's Caesar was in the title. It's a Western, something Caesar's Palace or something like that. It's not, I don't know. It's not Caesar's Palace, but something
Black
like that.
Caesar, something like that.
Something with Caesar in there.
It's like, well, the thing with Putney Swope is, it's like the tone it sets immediately from the first frame is like, okay, this is something different. This is like, the first shot is like this punk rocker. And this is shot in 1968 or 69. The punk rocker, a guy with a leather jacket and like a chain, for a necklace or something, patches on his jacket, and he's on a helicopter, and he's got a briefcase chained to his hand, but he's like maybe 55 or he's like an old man. He's like 60, but he's like a total punker. He lands. It's just him landing on a helicopter, walks into an ad agency and pitches like a beer commercial. And it's just like a one sentence pitch. And they're like, this is the guy's the best in the biz. That's going to cost $40,000 for that one sentence he just said. And like, it's just like absurdity,
Interesting.
But anyway, like
that's, the movie I saw of his that was called Caesar. A guy comes from he parachutes down into the scene. That's the opening shot.
Yeah. And by the way,
similar.
After that, I'm like, I got to dig into this guy's library. I got to see all the I'm thinking Downey Jr. Forget Junior. I'm talking Senior is he's the real G.
Yeah.
But he's got
Robert
a movie.
Downey.
He's got a movie called Pound. So I got to watch that.
Oh, damn. Robert Downey Jr. is like like Robert Downey Sr. is like Bob Dylan, and Robert Downey Jr. is like the son that makes
Jacob Dylan.
Yeah, Jacob Dylan.
Exactly.
Dude, have you guys seen that movie called F for Fake?
Yeah, I've seen it.
That movie's incredible. Like that, and I was thinking about this because watching that How To with John Wilson, I was like struck by how interesting it is where like editing and narration and perception are all kind of these like weird crossroads. And then there's like, as you watch F for Fake, you realize that like there's so much about perception and trusting or believing or knowing what's going on that like as you're watching the movie, you're seeing the editor do the editing, but then you're like wondering if this is even real. And then you're wondering like if the characters are real, and then you're just, and it's like, it's a very fascinating take on like reality, but it's in this sort of vignette of, I mean, at one point, the whole movie in a lot of ways is about perception, but Elmire, this artist who is this sort of like flamboyant artist guy who lives on an island. Was that in Italy or something? And like everybody in the village knows him, but he's famous for making fakes. Like fake.
Oh yeah, I've heard a podcast or some long form thing about him. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just like really interesting because you realize how everybody puts a lot of trust and a lot of faith in like a collective like kind of like a collective unspoken trust and understanding and stuff, like say even like money. We all like collectively know that a dollar is a dollar and we all like honor that. But in this movie, it was like all these art museums and galleries had like kind of continuously bought these fakes, you know, over the years. So, you know, you never know which one is like actually a fake, and no museum, like no art museum would ever willingly give up the information that like we bought fakes, because then all of a sudden all of their credibility is completely gone. So it's like, at what point, I think in our society, even like, I think that there's a lot of shit where you see, even like say with like being like a Trumpy cult member person, where you understand like, oh, all the unspoken ideas that I had about decency or about what democracy meant or about like what I thought reality was is definitely not being honored by the way these people interpret reality or whatever. And so it's interesting when you watch F for Fake, because as it's being, who is that? Orson Welles is narrating it. And he's like,
I think didn't he make the movie also?
Yeah. And he's, you know, he's just like, what do you think? You know, like these guys are watching this woman walk down the street, but they're really not. It was just edited to look like that. So I don't know. It's interesting. It's I don't know if you guys are into like Robert Anton Wilson or anything like that, the philosopher guy who died, but he talks about that being like maybe one of the most important films that nobody really knows about that much.
I feel like I watched it in film school, and I know what the idea is, but maybe I never really fully.
You went to film school?
Yeah, but I learned I learned most things not in school.
The school of hard knocks.
Yeah, well, yeah, I guess that. Yeah, Hard Knocks.
School of Fort Knox.
The school of Fort Knox.
That's where like business. That's where like Wall Street badasses go to school. They're like, I went to the school of Fort Knox. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All right, so let's back up, Skinner. People might not know.
All right, what? I'm sorry.
No, never apologize, because I love your thoughts and the little paths you go down are very interesting.
Oh, thanks.
So Brent, how do you know Skinner?
No, I don't. I mean, we just met, but we were talking a lot before we started recording.
I came in and you guys were already talking like you knew each other forever.
That's how it goes.
Skinner has, he knows some people that I know, and we started talking about Sacramento, and I know Sacramento pretty well, and we know Sacramento people and so forth, and so
I think Sacramento is underrated. Can I say that?
Yeah, you could say that. I think that Sacramento is underrated, but it's also like a pretty bizarre. It's bizarre on various levels, but it's sort of like is a magnet for, I guess, like any surrounding towns or whatever. So like, some of the like weird freaks from Nevada City go down there, or people from Auburn go down there, or, as like kind of a stop on the way to somewhere else. And there used to be like a pretty robust music scene a long time ago. Remember when the Deftones, they got famous, and Cake, and
Cake is from Sac.
Wasn't Cat Power from Sacramento too? I don't know.
I don't know that one, but recently, in recent years, it's like Chelsea Wolf. Our bands used to play together with Chelsea, and then like Death Grips.
You got Death Grips. Hella is our friends from Hella.
Yeah.
Are from there, and then you got legendary skaters like John Cardiel. I mean, it seems like one of those places that's like small enough that the people that go there crank up the creativity more, because maybe they're not SF and they're not LA, and they're kind of forgotten, so they have to like shine brighter to get noticed.
Yeah, you have to shine.
I mean, I don't know. That's just a theory of like why. It kind of reminds me of kind of like New Zealand or something. It's like it's a little bit out of the way, but The people
Also-
there are like so creative and like unique or something.
Yeah.
Davis, Davis has a college radio station that will, showcase, independent
Yeah.
stuff that's good. Or whatever.
KDVS.
KDVS, yeah.
Yeah, I
Skinner,
think.
where are you from though?
I
Let's
grew
start
up-
from the beginning. Where were you born?
I
What
was
time?
born. I lived in a town called Auburn, California. If you've gone to Nevada City or Tahoe, you've driven through Auburn. I don't know.
I go to
if you-
Nevada City at least once a year. I was just there a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, the Yuba, right?
It's my
Yuba
favorite
City.
place.
I've been out to Yuba City. I know Auburn. I know Carmichael.
Grass Valley.
I know
Grass
Citrus Heights.
Valley.
I've hung out in Citrus Heights. Yeah.
It fucking sucks there, man. Citrus Heights.
Well,
No, you know what? Here's the thing that's interesting about Sacramento. I will tell you the story, but like Sacramento is like downtown Sacramento is this sort of small metropolitan microcosm, and everything around it is sort of like the poster child for suburban sprawl in America, and like what that looks like. It's very, very interesting. There's a lot of like poverty and drugs, and it's very fascinating. But also Pavement is from Citrus Heights. I think that band Pavement came
For
from
real? Originally?
yeah
Before they moved to like Portland or wherever they're from?
yeah. And then you know who else? Adrian Tomine, the comic book artist person who's like super famous, lives in New York now and stuff like that.
Right, right.
Anyway, okay, I lived in Auburn. I grew up there. It was
What were you into?
Oh, dude, I was into like Dungeons and Dragons, and but I played a lot of sports. I got good grades, and did drugs. Still played sports a lot. Smoked cigarettes. Smoked pot. Did acid, and listened to music. Played music. Did a bunch of art. Felt really squished by what felt like a sort of like it didn't feel like there was much going on, and I felt like I got to get the fuck out of here, man. I don't know what's going on. Like I'm super, super depressed here. This isn't working for me. I just, I was in a car accident when I was 17, like pretty bad. I got brain damage, and I got like a $30,000 payout or something. And then I moved to Sacramento. Yeah.
Brain damage.
Yeah.
What got affected? I mean, how did that manifest? Like, what were the effects of the brain damage?
I had like pretty bad clinical depression before, but then like it kind of augmented that for me. And then I was having like a hard time even more, like I think like feeling connected to anything. I just didn't feel connected emotionally. Like I was very like nihilistic, I guess, in a way. Like I didn't
emotion. So it affected you emotionally, and not it didn't affect you with your speech or anything like that, or your comprehension of things.
No, but I couldn't taste or smell anything for like 2 years.
Really?
Yeah, I couldn't.
So people were just like farting all the time in front of you because they knew, hey, we're good here. We can just.
I was farting.
You were farting.
I was but you know what was interesting was I was taking these. They actually had these sort of like cognitive tests that you would have to take because they were trying to ascertain like where you were at with your mental faculties. You know what I'm saying? Like, so they would do all these tests, like memory tests, recall, filling in the blanks and all this stuff. And I was very impatient because it was annoying and it felt humiliating to me. I really hated the test because they felt like infantile, kind of, in a way. Like they were like, okay, we're going to do a memory test to see, your ability to recall, short-term recall stuff. And I was like, okay. And then it was like this piece of paper that had these little alien drawings on it. And then they would tell me the name of the alien and then see if I could remember it. And the names for the aliens were just like
words that were just very bizarre. And the whole situation felt very surreal to me. And I was really highly frustrated. And I was like, I'm not doing this fucking test, man. I don't care about these aliens. I don't care about this. But then they said that there was a test that I took. They said I had the patience of like a 12-year-old. They were like, you're way down on this. But there was a test that I took that was where they would show you an incomplete image. And then you have to guess what the image is. And I got all of them right. And they were like, nobody's ever gotten those right before, like all that. So it was weird.
So they were kind of like, well, okay, you got all those right. So we're going to actually lower the $50,000 settlement to $30,000 because you're not that brain.
Because now you're a better artist and you can visualize things better.
Yeah, I was already doing that shit before, but like the reason that the funny thing was that the lawyer that I had that was trying to get me the money was this sort of this like weird dude. He was like a small town lawyer guy, but it was funny because there was drugs in my system. I was like, I was 17. I was like doing drugs and shit. I hated my life. And so the lawyer knew I had drugs in my system. And then like, he was like telling, the town is very small, but he was like telling his son, his like 13-year-old son, like, stay away from that Skinner guy. He's a druggie. He uses drugs and all that. I found this shit out later, but I was like, that's so weird because I didn't have druggy behavior. Like I had straight A's. I was doing drugs because I was just, life is small and dumb, but I had super good grades. I was really like overachieving in a lot of ways, but they didn't want to give me any money because the thing is that I didn't put my seatbelt on because it wouldn't go on. And
what do you mean it wouldn't go on?
It wouldn't like come out of the seat to put on.
Oh, it was like jammed?
Yeah, and the only reason that I got any money or that anybody knew I tried was because the dude in the seat in front of me, literally a minute before the car accident, I said to him, my seatbelt's not working, but you should put your seatbelt on. It was raining outside. And I was like, people drive crazy. And so like the whole thing was that I had actually told the dude in front of me to put his seatbelt on and because mine didn't work.
You saved his life, perhaps.
Dude, he reminds me of that frequently. He's like, remember you told me fucking you did that seatbelt? I'm like, yeah, man, I remember it.
He didn't suffer from brain damage. He suffered from throat damage or something.
He was fine. He was fine. But
now he talks like this.
But it took 8 years. So I had like a basilar skull fracture. So it's like my skull was broken down the middle.
Whoa.
And there was like spinal fluid like coming out of my nose and stuff like that. And then yeah, and they were like, oh, he might die or something, you know what I mean? And then what would happen was my brain was like healing. My nose was totally broken. It was really fucked up. I was all black and blue. My teeth were all smashed, And but every once in a while after that, I would feel this like really intense pop inside of my head, and then like all this fluid, like not snot, like whatever, like this fluid would come out of my nose, and I thought I was gonna die like every time, because the doctors were like, oh yeah, if you have fluid coming out, that's like a really, really bad sign. Come into the hospital immediately, whatever. But I was like not feeling optimistic, so I would just sort of be all, well, maybe this is it. Maybe you know what I mean? And then when I didn't die, I'd be like, oh, that's cool, man. I guess I'm still kicking ass, But
what? Wait a
yeah,
second.
go ahead.
So yeah, who was paying you the money? Where did the settlement come from?
Oh, the insurance. The insurance. So this what happened. So they were trying. So the like lawyer guy who thought I was a loser actually told me, he's all, I don't think that you're going to get any money. I don't think it's good. You know, he was like a little weasel ass worm motherfucker, you know, but he, it ended up happening. And the reason that they did was because they're like, okay, this guy like got brain damage, his grades, he still has really good grades. He's clearly like an unhappy person. He had like, he's just trying, like he's just trying, like this kid got fucked up, like the seatbelt maybe didn't work. For some reason, they gave me the $30,000 is like nothing. You know what I mean?
Insurance?
But when you're 17 or 18, well, I finally got it when I was 19 and I moved out to Sacramento because I was like, I got to get out of this place. It's holding me back. And so I had $30,000 and I was like, cool. And then I just basically just drank martinis and watched like Spider-Man cartoons for a year and just chilled. And then I was like, oh man, I got to do something with my life. So
then what did you, from there, because you've been a successful artist for a while. How did that start?
Well, I lived in Sacramento for a while. I had like series of jobs. I wasn't really doing anything. I was totally directionless. I honestly had like very little. I think that I was like really very stunted. I didn't realize that like if anything was going to happen in this life that was going to be worth noting or worth living at all, that it was like my responsibility to make that happen. I was kind of like, well, I'm smart and I'm kind of creative and stuff. Like maybe something will, you know, come along and work itself out.
You didn't want to go to college with those good grades?
No, I didn't have any money. Yeah, I wanted to keep the $30,000 for myself, but like I didn't. You know what? I was not groomed to think that I could go to college, and I did. I think I got like scholarships and stuff. But I honestly, I was just lazy. I didn't know what to do. I had no direction. I was completely directionless. And
but then you found Scientology.
Yeah, and now I got caveman ghosts in my body. I'm trying to get rid of that. No, so
but then you read Dianetics, yeah.
Yeah, Dianetic. Isn't that what it is? You have like caveman ghost in your blood?
Yeah, probably. I wouldn't be surprised. I haven't heard that one, but it sounds that fits in with everything else I've heard. Yeah,
I like that. I like that idea. Instead of just being like, dude, God wanted me to be a successful artist, I just said the millions of echoes of screaming cavemen in my blood told me that I could be a good artist when I got older. Anyways, all right, sorry. Okay, so we're in Sacramento.
That makes sense though, because like maybe throughout the generations, those are the genes you got or whatever, you know?
Yeah. Caveman genes.
Yeah.
They're like all the like, the cavemen who were just like too weird. And they're like, all right, you're too weird. You're the shaman now. Like you just go over there and like fiddle with your balls in the corner of the cave. And we'll hit you up when we need some medicine or something. That's who I am. But anyway, so all right, Sacramento, I'm chilling. I'm super depressed, but I'm like in bands. I'm like trying really hard to figure out what I'm doing with my life. I'm maintaining my art. I'm still drawing. I'm doing a lot of art, whatever. But there was really no collective thing that was revealing itself to me as like, oh, this is a path to go down, except for like, you know, playing music and stuff. Then I got a job at a cafe, which is where I met Zach from Hella and Death Grips. That's where I met my friend Mike Tiemann, who went on to become like a chef and own fancy restaurants in Sac and all this stuff. And like all these other random artists. There's all these artists, there's all these musicians, and like just all these incredible people.
And they all started out at this cafe.
Yeah. I remember like, so Zach, when I would go to see that band Hella. He was in a band called Legs on Earth first, which you got to listen to. It's really good. And I was like, man, this shit's awesome. And then I would see Zach around more, and I was like, hey, what's up, man? We became friends. I was like, you should get a job at Greta's, you know? And then like one day he was just there. He was at Greta's, you know. I'm not responsible for him getting the job, you know what I mean? But and so we became friends and all this stuff. And I remember like after we'd get off work, we would ride our bikes around, and he would say
real
stuff.
quick, is Greta's like kind of like a
Greta's-
breakfast lunch place?
Yes, Greta's Cafe, yeah. Breakfast, lunch, yeah.
When I opened for Eric Andre in Sacramento, maybe like a couple years ago, we went there every morning. Just side note. Greta's.
I think, wait, I don't know if it was around. I think now it's like Chipotle or something.
I might be mixing it up with something else, but there was a. Anyway,
yeah, delicious. Anyway, I'm sorry, but I hear you. Yeah, and next time you go to Sac, I'll tell you all the good, delicious places to go.
I'm gonna look that up because I want to know. That name Greta has got me.
Yeah, Greta's Cafe. So there was like all these really cool. There's people that work there. Anyway, so I remember there was like these funny times when I would talk to Zach and he'd be like, dude, he said, dude, Dave Perner from Soul Asylum got our CD. He says he likes it. Like I know shit like that where I was like, damn, that's hella tight, bro. Yeah, congratulations, And he's like, and I remember because it was really cool to experience Zach kind of getting that excitement from when your art or your music starts to take off and and like I could see it happening. And he's like, it's really going good. Like people like it.
What was your band called?
My band?
Yeah.
I was in a band called The Little People, which was like kind of like Faith No More metal, kind of circusy metal or something. It was pretty horrendous. But I was the worst part of the band, And then I was in a cool band called Iguanodon with Christy, my wife. She was the drummer. That was like stoner thrash music. And but yeah, so at the time, but I wasn't really doing music when I met Zach. I wasn't really doing it that much. But as the years went on, it was like cool seeing Zach and everybody do really good. And then I left. I think he still lives in Sacramento, actually. So he like never left. But Chelsea left. Chelsea Wolf left and is now doing her amazing stuff. And I really do think Pavement is from Citrus Heights or something like that. We're gonna have to look that up though. But yeah, so I'm in SAC. I get a job working with people with developmental disabilities, like profound level, like changing diapers in public, places, and like administering medication and doing all this stuff. And I will say that as confused as I was at the time of my life, as kind of still nihilistic, that a lot of perspective was brought into my life by being around people with developmental disabilities, where I felt like gratitude. I felt like a lot of the concerns that most people had, including myself, seemed very ridiculous or arbitrary or something, because like people with developmental disabilities, like whole life is one of they're being controlled, they're being told what to eat, their whole lives are like really difficult, they have like a lot of things working against them. But it's also sort of like this like little magical world where you kind of hang out with these people who are not tethered to the same sort of concerns, like, does Billy like me? Do I have enough money for car insurance, or like what, all this stuff. It was like kind of like an emotional vacation for me to be around people with developmental disabilities.
Puts it in perspective a little bit.
Oh, so much perspective. Really like very fascinating world. If you ever, I mean, that's what like hanging out with people with Down syndrome is better than any like dopamine hits ever. They're just endlessly happy and stoked on little small things. I actually remember when I got so I was working with people with profound disabilities for 2 years. Then I got a job as an art advocate at an art program called Short Center North, Allen Short Center North. And that was when I was able to kind of like expand and do a lot of art. And then I would do I would create like a lot of like music. Like I did a music program that was just like insane noise. And then we would, I did like a lot of like community outreach stuff. And then I became really close friends with a lot of the people with disabilities that were like, they're more higher functioning, so that you could kind of like hang out with them, be friends, and like learn their life story. And that was like the most impacting part of my life. It was like incredible. I was a stage manager for like Christmas plays for people that had disabilities and stuff. And you just like, I don't know, life. I think that this reality as like adults in 2020 or whatever our life is can feel, it's almost like demeaning. Like, oh, this is all there is. Like, this is what it is. All this trash and garbage and politics and news and stupid shit everywhere. But then like if you're hanging out with people with disabilities, you're just like, oh, every little thing is special. Like every small thing is like the best or cool or small.
Yeah. Speaking of that, what happened to that bunny, by the way?
Okay. So here's the deal. That bunny's name was Milo. Okay. So
and did it grow into a full grown rabbit?
Dude, Milo grew up and lived for like 12 years. Milo, which is like, we had all these other, so I created a rabbit mansion in my backyard in Sacramento. I built a house in Sacramento, by the way. I built this big house, big art studio and stuff.
You built the house yourself?
Yeah. I built a whole house.
How'd you learn how to do that?
Dude, we had to learn it on the fly. And by the time it was done, I was like, I'm a fucking construction guy for sure.
Dude, I want to learn how to do that.
Dude, I would love, I will build something with you anytime. It's
you
really
built
fun.
It with your hands.
Oh yeah. And dude, halfway into it, like Christy, she's like, don't touch me with those hands, because they were like gnarled with cuts and they were all blistered and fucked up, you know? And she's like,
how big was this house?
It was like the house. It was like a big vaulted cabin style house. It was like 700 something square feet. But then the art studio in the back, which I also built, I also transformed it into another house. It was like 800 square feet, but it was vaulted. And then I built like bathroom in there, and then I built like rooms and stuff for music and art and guests. So when bands would go on tour through Sacramento, I would offer them up this like house for then, you know, a night or two. And so,
okay.
Anyways,
so
okay.
You built the mansion. You built the mansion for Milo.
So okay. So we had Milo, Patches, Butterscotch, and Hoboken. And Butterscotch I captured because there was like a Mexican family down the street that would buy rabbits for their kids for Easter. And then the rabbits would just like be outside on the lawn. And there was pit bulls that would run around a lot. This was in kind of a lower income neighborhood in Sacramento. And so I would go capture these rabbits to make sure they wouldn't get eaten by the pit bulls. And then I would put them in the rabbit mansion and then feed them. The problem is rabbits are extremely, extremely territorial and violent. So you have to, you got to keep them separate, certain ones. You know what I'm saying? Well, Milo was the queen. She was the one female. And then I'd bring in like Butterscotch, and then Butterscotch and Patches would fight. And I'd be like, have to get them away and keep them like, so I was like cutting the outside mansion up into all these sections so that they could coexist. But they all passed away except Milo lived forever. And then she just passed away like last month, actually.
Oh my God.
Yeah. She just passed away. But you know, what was funny was I'm like a complete idiot. So one of the rabbits, Butterscotch,
So Butterscotch got like a tooth infection, and then and they were like, it's gonna cost $4,000 if you want to remove these teeth and then like sections of her jaw and then make sure that she lives. And they were like, I was like, all right, do it, I'll pay. You know, they're like, what? Nobody does this. This rabbit's all old and fucked up. I was like, fix this rabbit. I'll never live with myself if I knew that, you know. So then I drove down to LA with like a bunch of art and masks to Blake, you know, Blake Anderson from Workaholics.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, hey man, you want to buy some art? And he goes, yeah, sure. I was like, cool. He's all, why? Why? And I was like, I got to pay for this surgery for this rabbit, you know? And he's just like, you're an odd man. So it was, but it worked out. And then Butterscotch died like a week later after I paid for it. But I was like, I don't care. Life is hard. Money is important, but who cares, man? It's just money. Like, I'll just like I'll just make some more demon art.
By the way, I just bought some masks from your store.
Oh, you did?
I got the 3-pack. Yeah.
Oh, sick, dude. Thanks, man. I should have sent you. Did you see the new like new metal truck stop one that has the skull on it? I was like,
well, they all have like crazy monster mouths on them.
Yeah. I made a big one that's like the gator, and
yeah, I know. The day after I bought it, I was like, the gator's available. I'm like, man, I want the gator.
All right, I'm gonna send you the gator. But you know what's so funny is because the dudes that are helping me, I finally got these people to help me, like, because I don't really release that much stuff because it's like I'm very involved in like a bunch of like weird like films and comic books and like video game things I'm developing, and I'm like creating all this shit, and people are like, yo, what's up? When are you gonna release some shirts? And I'm like, all right, cool. And then I release some shirts, and then I'm basically spending an entire week shipping out orders and like making sure everybody's happy and all this stuff. And I'm like, at some point I had to decide to get help with that, or else I would never do it again, you know? So, but the guys that do it are like these metal dudes. And so they're like, yo, he made this sick gator with the skull, whatever. And I was like, this face mask looks like something like a weird militia dude would wear. And so I was like, I don't know if I like it. And the only way I'd feel comfortable selling it would be if I could kind of make fun of it, you know? So I said, It's a new metal truck stop Ghost Rider mask, you know?
Well, okay, we should talk about your art because we haven't even talked about that yet. But
yeah, it's
quick question, real quick about the rabbit before we move on.
Milo, yeah.
Just were you really? I mean, Milo, since you raised Milo since she was a little tiny this size,
mm-hmm.
Did she have a really strong connection with you? And did she?
No. Oh. She hated me. She hated everybody. Something about those early formative years chewing on a Del Taco wrapper behind the dumpster had her just full of rage because she tore up, dude. Okay, so I built the house. So I'm like, this is my beautiful house. I built it. I put every little nail in. I did all this shit. And then she destroyed the floorboard. Like, she chewed every fucking thing. She ripped up the carpet. She pissed and shit everywhere. And I was like, this rabbit's driving me up a wall. I'm getting steamed, you know? But then Christy was like, oh, this is the love of my life, this rabbit. Like, so me and Milo, even though I was like always giving her expensive food and fancy, organic, delicious greens and doing all this stuff, she didn't like me. She liked Christy.
Oh, she did?
Yeah. Have you ever heard a rabbit growl before?
No.
This fucking rabbit would growl at me when I would try to be friends with her. She'd be like, and then like I'd be like, all right, let's call it a truce for the day. It's
so crazy. 12 years. All right. Well, anyway, the art. Let's get into the art.
Yeah.
So I got you sent me your book, The Art of Scare.
Yeah.
And it's like incredible because it looks like the artwork is so like complex, and it's so many pages of stuff. Like, it would take me like 1,000 lifetimes to make that book, if I like, I don't know, like it just seems like you're very prolific. So
Yeah,
you're
hustling.
you do a lot of yeah, like how did you make the leap into being like a professional artist? You do a lot of, how would you describe your work? It's like a lot of devils and stuff.
Well, the funny thing is that, so like growing up, I was ultra fixated. So, all right, I'm going to make this fast. I'm going to go down a list, and it's going to get us to the point where I can lay this out. So when I was young, I experienced like and saw a lot of sort of traumatic events that kind of like turned me inward at a young age. So then I was inward, and then what happened was I like strongly developed a sense of connection with my creativity as a way of sort of emotionally surviving being a child in certain environments. So then I would get more and more, and I was doing art, constantly creating, but I was very serious, and I was very turned in, and I was very closed off. So then I was like constantly developing art. Well, my artwork was very demonic. It was a lot of creatures. There was a lot of violence. It was very fixated with sort of like that 80s proto He-Man, Dungeons and Dragons, Godzilla, Ray Harryhausen, monsters, kind of mythology shit that like really got into comic books. Really, really super into comics. In Auburn, there was only one place to buy comics, at an antique store. And they were like comics from when I was born. So I was very behind the times, but I was like reading Hulk comics from when 1976. And I was like, damn, this Hulk guy is cool, and it was like already old, so I was kind of behind. I was getting into Beastmaster. I was getting into all this shit. Then I started to really get into the concept of, I really got like global dread about the world. I was very like, I see a lot of imperialism. I see a lot of animal murder. I saw like a documentary about shark finning, and it sent me spiraling into this misanthropic depression for like months, where I'd like cry, and I was like, I can't believe this is real. I can't believe I'm a part of all this stuff. And then I started to make paintings that I felt like were mythological, but they would tell these sort of stories of like anti-authoritarian, anti-imperialist kind of vibes, animal rights stuff, like all this shit. But it was not very preachy. It was very built into this sort of psychedelic nightmare mythology that I was creating, that people didn't necessarily maybe immediately recognize that was a reflection of my feelings about the world, or like my experiences in it. And I remember in 2008 when I did quit, but before then I had been driving from Sacramento to San Francisco a couple of times a week to go to events in San Francisco, and kind of pretending like I lived there almost, in order to initiate myself into the scene. And then I would make friends and connections and blah, blah, blah. Of course, this is before the internet was like, you could just show your art and people would be like, that's cool, or that sucks. I was like literally driving hundreds of miles, every other night. So then I would go there. I got these shows. I was doing these bigger shows, and I was really hungry. So I was like doing these giant installations. I was building these huge sculptures and like giant severed heads hanging from the ceilings. And like, I would get like, a bunch of wheelchairs and make these monster sculptures and wheelchairs and stuff, and make like, I would buy hundreds of like fake video surveillance cameras and put them all throughout the whole galleries. And I was just doing a lot of shit that to me was funny, but that was also reflecting like what I felt like was a very serious vibe about everything I saw as in, racism, imperialism, America being fucked up. And it's funny because years later, like when Trump got elected, all of a sudden it was like the first time in my career or my life that I was ever getting people saying like, you're a shill for Hillary Clinton or whatever. You know what I mean? It was like the first time that like my views were ever seen as like political views. as democratic views or something. I'm not a Democrat person. I'm like a radical leftist type person. And so it was like all this sort of culmination of me being married to Christy's a sociologist. She got her master's degree in sociology, in feminism and globalization and all this stuff. So I got indoctrinated in all this shit. And then like, it's sort of like once you see the patterns of power and the structures of the world and the structures of politics and the illusions of things and all this shit, you can't unsee it. You know what I mean? You just have to figure out a way of being able to live with it and still have fun and still like inspire some kind of positivity. So, but my problem is, at the time when I was really swinging for the fences creatively, like with art, I was doing psychedelic social commentary nightmare art. And it was in the middle, of the last big art trend, which was street art. So like street art is huge. It's massive. People are making millions of dollars. It's huge. It's Banksy. It's fucking Shepard Fairey. It's like all these European people, all these South American people, all this stuff. And I was like, anybody like monster stuff? You know what I mean? So it didn't really work out in the way that I was really hoping. And then I kind of have been spending the rest of my career kind of navigating and figuring out that instead of trying to apply myself to any kind of like one industry or anything like that, to just keep reinventing, keep making new shit, keep trying new things. And that way I'll never be bored. And that way I'll never be like, my life won't be at the behest of any kind of trend. You know what I mean? So.
And that worked out for you because I mean, can I ask, how do you make your income? Is it purely just selling artworks, or is it, you say you're working on movies and all kinds of stuff? Like, how do you,
or is it breeding rabbits?
Yeah. You doing rabbit stuff or what?
I'm not
and
doing
selling them to families on Easter.
Well, I just sell art. I make art. Hey, I gotta pee really fast. I'm really sorry. I know that.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Yeah,
let me do it really quickly. Hold on, 1 second. I'm sorry, guys. Please forgive.
That's fine, man.
No. Oh, that is him in the background, right?
That's his head up. That's one of his severed heads. You mean his artwork?
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, that's a self-portrait, right? That thing on the right. No, I just can't. No, it is his work, right?
I don't want to say definitively, but that's his work looks like that.
You have the book, you should know. If you read the book.
I haven't. I didn't memorize it yet. I didn't read the whole book yet.
Got to start doing those cognitive memory games.
I just finished a book called Childhood's End. Do you ever read that?
Childhood's End?
Yeah.
No, I'm still in the middle of Cat in the Hat. I'm trying to get through that one from last week.
I finished it last night. It's Arthur C. Clarke, sci-fi, classic sci-fi masterpiece from 1950.
Did you like it?
Yeah.
What sci-fi masterpiece?
Oh, behind you. What are we looking at behind you?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
This is an old painting. This painting was on the wall in for my drawing show. Did you ever see that?
Did you do that?
Yeah, I painted that. Yeah.
What about the buried realm?
Oh, this is some heavy metal shit. I don't know. It's an embodiment of the divine. I don't know. This was my friend that makes my merch sent me this so that I'd see if I wanted to make flags of my stuff. But this is yeah, heart-wrenching tales of kind of not being good looking enough. This is that was my whenever I would go down to Los Angeles, I would have fun for the first couple days and I would have my meetings and stuff. And then by the time I left, I was like so exhausted for some reason. And I know that it's not all like that, but this is sort of an antagonistic painting that I did about Los Angeles. So
I mean, you got guys down here like Brent, like myself,
I know. So
really
the
handsome guys. You know, it's hard to.
I know. But like, so I did. But this was on the wall of my drawing show, the one that I did for Super Deluxe. The
Okay.
which I think you'd like if you ever see it.
Is it been taken off the internet like all the other videos?
I re-put it up on mine.
Oh, cool. Right.
But anyway, so before we proceed, though, I don't want to forget this. In the, you remember when Jeff Goldblum was on Tim and Eric's show?
Jeff
Yes,
Gold,
he did.
Blue Man
Wait,
Group.
did he do Wait Mate or Blue?
Blue Man Group.
Okay,
Jeff
the
Goldblum.
Blue Man Group. So you know that the animation where he's all.
Yeah, you know what?
Who did that?
John Kreisel did that, but then once I learned how to do that technique, I just did that on it's puppet. It's called puppeting. After
Dude,
I learned that,
the
I ripped that
funniest-
off and I did that. I did just this past week. I did some puppeting.
That was the funniest thing. I went to this wedding on this ship and I met a guy who edited with you, I think. Let me see, what's his name again? But he was really cool. He was tall. Daniel Haworth.
Dan Hayworth, yeah, of course.
Yeah, Hayworth, yeah. Yeah, he was cool. I was like, this guy's sweet, man.
Wait,
Yeah,
you're on a ship? You're on a ship with Dan Hayworth?
Yeah, on a wedding ship.
Oh, nice.
And, yeah, it was having fun, man. I like going on ships. But like, okay, so what were we talking about? I'm sorry. I've completely fucked up the interview. But oh yeah, okay. So the way I make money, essentially what I've done is like having a web store, right? Where I'm like, okay, I'll make like a book and then I sell my books and I'll sell my drawing. But like a lot of times I'll sell paintings. I sell a lot of paintings to people. I paint on these little bottles, monster bottles. Sometimes I do design work for like Tony Hawk video game or like do albums or music videos, or like sometimes I'll do some animation design shit, or like I don't know what else. Yeah, this merch and all this shit. But I started working on a comic book that I'm going to do a Kickstarter for. I've been heavily going because the last couple of years I had like my virtual reality project fell through. My anthology film fell through. My drawing show fell through. I had like a lot of shit not work out. And I felt like I was spending all my time trying to convince companies or industries to give me money to follow my little, artistic whims, like my dreams and shit. And I was like, I'm not going to keep doing this. I'm going to go independent style. I'm tired of this, And
dude, I'm there. I'm with you.
You've been totally inspirational to me, by the way, for it. Actually, like when Tyler Bradbury, he'll show me like stuff that you do and work on, and I'm like, this is good. This is really cool. And I'm like, I had a show lined up, like a special with Adult Swim, and then it was like going really good a couple years ago, and then they were like, we don't know what to do with your script. We don't understand. And so I was like, oh, okay. Like, no, never mind, And so it's just been like a series of navigating, like, and to me, what it feels like to me, and tell me if it's true, that if somebody like maybe even just has a bad day that day and it has nothing to do with you, they're just like, I don't like this video. I don't like this project. It's like, I don't assume that it's has anything to do with like what I'm doing, because I don't feel like really understood by these people anyways, So I'm just going full independent, make my shit. And if they want to do it, that's cool. Like I'm still writing stuff to pitch, but I'm just going to be like, I'm going to make my stop motion horror film that I've been working on, Kickstarter style. I'm going to do my comic book Kickstarter. I'm going to develop a stronger relationship with the public where it's like, there's nothing between me and them. So it's really, the best to me. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, that seems like the way to go these days. I mean, yeah, working with these gatekeepers at network.
Yeah, gatekeepers.
Seems like everything could be going great. And then for some reason, it just all gets shut down after so much work.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's really discouraging.
yeah.
And it's interesting because I think that we live in a world, I mean, I know we live in a world that, like, instead of seeing the creative potential of somebody who works so hard and doing what you can to foster the success, you just go, how about you jump through another hoop, bro? You know what I mean? It's like,
It's so many hoops. It's crazy.
Preaching to the choir here.
Yeah,
no,
no,
I know.
We're
but
the
but
kings of stuff falling.
Well,
through.
another thing that happens, which happens to me, is like you sell a show or something, and then it's going along for like months and months, and then it's like, oh, well, this company just merged with AT&T, and there's everything is being shaken up at the corporate level, and then your thing just gets lost in the shuffle.
yeah.
That kind of stuff happens. So yeah, I mean, the way to go increasingly is to just do it and
Well, okay, so let me ask
go
you,
independent.
So there, like, the stuff
But
with
real quick
like,
though, we should wrap it up in about pretty soon,
okay,
and then we'll
okay,
go.
so
We'll do our
let's-
little bonus half hour after that. But
Okay, let's do the bonus half. But is there is there anything like specific, like, I guess, that you are curious about or something? I don't know. Like, I'm trying to, like, you know what's so funny is, like, I feel like more comfortable with you now instead of like some guy who's like sending you links to all my crazy bullshit. You know what I mean? Like,
well, I think there should be a takeaway for a lot of our listeners are, younger people that maybe want to be creative for a living. And if you have any like parting advice for, because you made it past over the hump from a day job to being an artist professionally. So if you have any, like, I guess, advice or like words of wisdom.
Well, it's been about 12 years since I quit my job to do this. But like the thing that's happened a lot was it went from pre-internet being the thing to like post-internet being the thing to like now I feel like getting off of social media is almost the dream, like for as far as being a creative, because you see that, ultimately as a creative person, you have to form relationships. You have to form like your tribe of people. You have to form your momentum with the things that you're trying to do. And that requires not having your life be controlled by a goddamn algorithm or something, and it's like, that can't be the thing that determines your fucking success. And that's what's happening more and more. I see that, like, I talk about, I'm going to go independent. I mean, like getting a Patreon and then constantly trying to get people to come onto that so that I have this direct connection to those people. And that my, whatever, my podcast or my Patreon or my mailing list or whatever has nothing to do with constantly navigating something you have no control over. So like, ultimately, I think there's a timelessness to creativity where it's like, just get fucking good. Just get super good. Just love what you're doing. You have to really foster your love for what you do. And if you find yourself like falling out of love with your creativity, you got to pay attention to that, because it's really dangerous. I think if you don't, like that might even be for some people, like just having a job, because if you don't have the kind of like emotional wherewithal to merge your creativity, your love, that part of yourself that is very, very important and just the best, like the most, paramount important thing you can have in life is loving to be creative. And like, if that's it doesn't have to be like drawing a demon or whatever. It could just be like, making a crappy edit or doing something funny or stitching a sweater for your puppy or whatever. So like, if you don't maintain your love for that, then you're going to be fucked. Now, some people can't merge their love of creativity with capitalism, and that's okay. That's totally okay. Like, you shouldn't, you should protect it. You know what I mean? Like, if you need to have like a job so that you can just be creative at night, like that, there's no shame in that at all. Like, if that's makes you happy, it's fine. You know, because it's a nightmare. Like, navigating all this shit is crazy, right?
Sometimes having a job that sucks gives you the angst to like
drive.
Yes.
To be creative. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Having some kind of like thing that sucks makes you like want to push against it, reactionary.
Yeah. Well, I when I was working at the school, the art program, before I quit my job, like, everybody who was working there was like, you know, I was 28, 29 or something. And everybody around me, all my coworkers were like 50 and 60. And they were artists, but they never did it for a living. And I looked at them and I was like, you know, I could see myself just working here for the rest of my life, but I need to know what it's like. I got to try. I got to do something.
Give it a shot.
Yeah. And so, like, I was looking at them like, okay, this is the example of like what my life would look like. I already know what it looks like. Now let me see what other thing I can do. And then since I quit that job, like almost every one of my like quote unquote dreams has been fucking checked off. It's insane. They just keep piling in. Like, as I put myself in the position of taking risks, you know, it's going good, man. Like, it's hard. It's fucking hard. There's a lot of lonely, dark times, man. I don't share that, you know, online, you know, but like, it can be difficult. It can be extraordinarily disenfranchising, but there's so much shit to be grateful for if you're providing yourself with a life that's risky, you know?
Yeah.
It's like little things pop up that you don't expect. And those little things would never pop up if you just like kind of, you know, keep doing the same shit over and over again. You got to keep trying.
Well, thanks, Skinner. We got to wrap up the main section. No, but that's rad though. That's awesome. I couldn't agree more with that, with those concepts. I still struggle with taking risks and all that. But where can people, do you say you have a podcast?
I'm going to start one soon. You guys can come be on it.
Well, give us your plugs now.
Okay. You can, dude. All right, here we go. I'm going to do a little rundown. My Instagram is the art of Skinner. And that's fun sometimes a little ranting, a little artwork, a little stuff like that. But I have my website, theartofskinner.com. You can see all my shit, go through all my stuff. My YouTube channel has some funny stuff, films and weird things. I'm working on a stop motion horror film that's going super, super good. It's called Shrine of Abominations. My comic book horror anthology is going really, really good. It's almost done. It's called Skin Crawl Comics. And I have a really cool video game I'm making called Flesh Haunted Lords, and it's a medieval socialist goblin fight.
Now that's right up Brent's alley. Now that's something Brent can get into.
So it's cool. I'm just working on a ton of shit. I'm annoying. I'm just like up in people's faces, but I got on Prozac 7 months ago and I've been jolly as fuck ever since. So I just feel very unstoppable, you know?
Cool, man. Well, congrats on all that. And thanks for doing the Poundcast. You're always a blast to talk to. And we're going to keep talking to Skinner. So if y'all want to keep listening, all you got to do is subscribe to our Patreon, patreon.com/leg. Just kidding. Patreon.com/Poundcast. Patreon.com/Poundcast. And we'll see you next week.
And well, hold on. And thank you to Chloe Bonilla for who does the audio file stuff for us, and Jack Birch, who does video stuff on YouTube for us, El Bircho. and Jackie Montana, who runs the Twitter, and Nathan Pittman, who runs the Instagram account.
And thank you to our sponsor, LouisvilleVeganFoods.com. Use the code word Poundcast for 20% off.
That's right.
See you next week
On the Poundcast.
Welcome to the Poundcast. Welcome to the Poundcast. Welcome to the Poundcast. Welcome to the Poundcast. Welcome to the Poundcast. Welcome to the Poundcast. Welcome to the Poundcast. Welcome to the Poundcast. Welcome to the Poundcast. Welcome to the Poundcast.
Welcome to